Hello, everyone. My name is Ranger Shauna Poland. I'm one of the park rangers out at Coralville Lake, located in northern Iowa City. We are off the side of North Liberty. So hopefully you guys are all familiar with our area. If you haven't been out to Coralville Lake, we are located at 2850 Prairie du Chien Road Northeast in Iowa City, Iowa, 52240. That's our office location. So you need to put a point on your GPS. That's how you find us. Today, we're going to be showing you different landforms of Coralville Lake using our augmented reality sand table. I'm going to be taking you through a demonstration of of Coralville Lake and more information about it using the sand table, what it is, how you can find us. If you guys have any questions at any time, feel free to put them down in the chat box. We can find those questions later, or I will give you guys our contact information at a later time. So hang on to those questions for us and we will get to you. Starting off, I just want to give you guys a closer look. So I'm asking my fellow ranger, which is Ranger Ethan, is handling the camera. Ranger Ethan's going to turn down the camera so you guys can see our augmented reality or AR sand table. So as you can see, we've got a projection system. Can you show them quickly pan the projection system that we're using? So using this is using a Xbox Connect system and a projector and a computer. And you can come back down. We are using that to project on the table. What makes it augmented reality, if any of my listeners have played Pokemon Go, that game uses AR technology. It's augmented reality. So it is taking computerized mechanisms and putting them into the real world and having you interact with them. So to show you quickly, I'm just going to swipe my hand across the table and you can see how this augmented reality table changes as I do something. So where I'm drawing the lines, you guys have ever seen a topographic map? What that is the different levels of ground, depending on the height, changes color. So if it's something really high, it's going to be colored in the red and the yellow. Something really low will be colored in the blue. If you noticed, my table is a little wonky and it's just a little off. That's because these have to be recalibrated every now and then. And we still need to do that for the upcoming season. And it's not always easy. So typically speaking, we are going to venture forth and deal with most of that. But as you can see here, this is all water. This area, as you can see, these are the landforms. As you get up into the red, that's going to be like your mountain areas. So it's actively changing based on where my hands are pushing the sand. It reacts to my movement as I'm building things. If I want it to rain on the system, I can hold my hand over the system and you guys can see rain pooling below my hand, which is the dark water moving. So like that's me putting water into the system and it's pooling in the blue areas as those are the lower portions of the land and the lower elevations. So that's what this table is doing. It's allowing us to play with the different elevations. So now that you guys know a little bit about what a AR sandbox does, I'm going to flatten this out here real quick as much as I can. And I'm going to take you through how Coralville's landscape is built and how we use that landscape here, how that works at Coralville. So obviously we are the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Back in 1938, the Flood Control Act of 1938 was created and allowed the Corps of Engineers to build dams all across the country. And the Coralville River, the Iowa River that was running through here, was one of the rivers that was causing flooding downstream. So in the 1940s, the Corps began procuring property in the area, and we began construction on Coralville Dam. So as you begin construction, that's when you're taking your land, and you're building your dam. So I'm going to build us a dam here using the AR sandbox. So you'll notice that it always takes a couple minutes for the sandbox to register what I've been doing. So on this side of my lake, this is going to be the lake. So when you build a dam, you're obviously scooping, you build a dam here. And what happens is the river that used to be here starts forming a lake because this is a man-made lake. So all the water is forming here. This would be in the blue where all of our water is. And I can try to make it rain here. But again, our system can be a little silly. So just imagine this is our lakeside here. But a dam has to have water moving through it. You can't just be a closed dam. So right here, we'll have what's called our spillway. So this is where all the water is going to hit up and start moving through the dam. So at Coralville, let's see if I can dig us a little spillway here. Water begins moving underneath the spillway and it's going to come out the other side. So if you guys are familiar with Coralville Lake, this would all actually be land over here. If I can get us some of this land up here. And we have just the river downstream. So dig us a river just downstream. And my river is not very long, is it? It's kind of like a miniature pool. So as we dig the river downstream, so I'm gonna have to walk you through this so you can imagine, put your imagination caps on with me. So as the water comes across here and pools in the Coralville Lake, because this used to be a river, but you hit the dam and then it starts to spread out. So it spreads out and becomes the lake. Well, again, as we had to have water moving through the system, the water is going to come to the spillway, go underneath through our control tower and Tanner gates, or our gates, and come through the other side to the downstream river, which flows down into Iowa City. What this is doing is, as rainwater comes in, as floodwaters come in, this lake is going to accumulate that water and hold that water. And as this is a dam, as you can see from the lines, it can hold all the way up, you know, all the way up the dam. It can hold water all the way up here. This whole thing could fill in, even on some of the land. And where you see water start coming up on the land is where we get flooding. So when every day our hydrologists email us, the water people up in our district office tell us, hey, this is how much rainwater we have coming in. This is how much precipitation we're getting. This is how much water we need to release from the dam. So my control tower, which sits right here. So if you guys come out, it's a really tall tower close to our office. Right above the spillway, there's a control tower that sits here. And inside the control tower, there are 3 gates. I can change the opening and closing of the gates. And that controls how much water moves through the dam. So every day we go out and adjust those gates, and it either makes more water move through or less water move through. So that's how the dam works here at Coralville, and how just a dam system works in general. So if we're going to flatten back out, I'm going to adjust us. I'm going to explain our overflow spillway and how that comes into play. So as we flatten back out, you guys got to take a minute for the AR table to realize that I want everything flat again. With no water, we're not getting any luck here, right? Okay, so I'm going to move our dam over here so we can see more about how the spillway works. So I'm moving our dam. We're going to rebuild our dam here. And now we're going to be specifically talking about the Coralville overflow spillway. And those of you who are older and can remember the floods of 1993 and the floods of 2008, okay, this is not going to flatten out to green for me. So I'll take some of my yellow over here and flatten out into green. I take some more here. I'm trying to get you the visual that we need here. Okay, we are close. Okay, so this is our dam across here. Got our dam. Now, remember we've got the lake on this side. This is the spillway right here where my hand is. We continue down into the river down below. So if we've got more land over here. Remember, this is the river. And then we have what's called the overflow spillway. So towards the far side, if you guys are familiar with our Devonian fossil gorge, this is kind of like the side spillway you guys see coming in from the west side. So right where my hand is now, this is going to be where the overflow spillway is. And what that is when the dam here, during flooding times, the dam can only take so much pressure. So think of the dam as a soda bottle. As the pressure begins building up in the flood zone, like a soda bottle, you're shaking up that soda bottle, the pressure is happening. If you were to just let it go, eventually the soda bottle is going to explode if you don't give it a way to release. But this is a dam. So right here, we've always got constant water moving, but that's only one place for the water to release. Sometimes your dam needs a second place, what we call an overflow location or an emergency option. Ours is an overflow spillway. So that means it just happens naturally. Once water reaches a certain level, water will naturally just overflow that spillway down into an area where the water is free to flow and take pressure off the dam. So over here again is that overflow spillway. It's a little bit shorter than the dam usually, but as the water reaches it, it'll just roll over and the water will rip through. So in the floods of 1993 and the floods of 2008, the water ripped through at massive rates and just demolished. This all used to be a campground right here below the spillway. This used to be a campground. So in the floods of 2008 and 1993, came through and ripped all that out. And that was all what left the gorge. So if you guys have been down in the fossil gorge, the Devonian fossil gorge, that's what that was. So after the flood waters receded, after all the water left out, so again, you know, obviously water with my hand, after all the water left out, we were left behind with this deep gorge was left behind. And if you guys have all been down there, you guys have seen the gorge, you guys know that we uncovered fossils in this area from the Devonian period, which are 375 million years old. So this was uncovered just like this. The water came through and ripped, just like my hand is doing to the sand, ripped all of that land out and left behind this gorge. There was no water in it once the water ended up downstream. So in this gorge is just land like this. It's a huge chunk of land that's just missing. It's about a 19-foot difference. So when this campground, this used to be Lower Cottonwood Campground before 1993, that used to be just regular green land. It'll work with me. Used to be just regular land here until the floods came through. And then the floods needed to happen. Like when the floods happened, the emergency or the overflow spillway came into effect to take pressure off the dam, to save the dam. If you don't take the pressure off, that's when it breaks. That's when you break the toy, right? So when it couldn't relieve the pressure, it came through and that's when it ripped it all out. So every time it floods here, it doesn't necessarily go over the emergency spillway or the overflow spillway. That only comes into effect after 712 elevation feet of water. So we have to be flooding quite a bit for this to go over and move through. And there's that. So just explaining, if you can come back up here a little bit. So just going through the history of Coralville Lake, history of how the dam, how and why the dam was created, going through how the gorge was created, how our landforms here change or how they are at Coralville Lake, how behind the dam, so upstream of the dam, is where we have the lake. That's the lake proper. The lake is cooling against the dam. And then on the downstream side where you just have the rivers, that's just downstream. It continues down into Iowa City and that water flows eventually into the Mississippi River. So continuing on, if I can find my notes here. Apologize, hold on. Technical difficulties. We wanted to offer you guys the contact for Coralville Lake. So if you guys had any questions today, just briefly about the AR sandbox, how it works, how the Coralville Dam works, questions about rangers, questions about the lake, you know, how you yourself can come play with this awesome AR sandbox. This is available to the public for the public to come try for yourselves. It's located at our visitor center. Our visitor center should be opening May 1. Watch our Facebook page for announcements on opening. We do have COVID restrictions in place, means masks for all parties inside the building. And I think we're limiting parties to 8 people or 1 family group at a time for your enjoyment. Be watching our Facebook pages for announcements on opening of our buildings. Our contact phone number, if you guys have any questions, is 319-338-3543. Give us a call with your questions. If you need to direct them specifically to me, I have an extension of 6303 that'll get you directly to my desk. If you have a question about the AR Sand Table or the Visitor Center, feel free. You can also reach out to us via email at coralville.lake@usace.army.mil, MIL. So you can reach us by there, or you can follow us on Facebook. So if you go on Facebook and search Coralville Lake, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, we are the only one that pops up. You'll see a nice aerial view of the lake there. You can follow us for more announcements, go on adventures with Dudley, the Dunkley Osteus, learn more about the AR Sand Table, come on more virtual tours with us, or just have questions in general about campground openings or feed or closures due to construction. All of our announcements are there. So if you have any questions, send them our way. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and thanks for joining us. Bye.